it. Victoria, unions are bad in this?
Well, the unions have crippled the American auto industry. You know, funds that would otherwise flow into research and development and marketing and pushing new innovative cars onto our streets go into just complex union negotiations. And it's not just wages. It's things like really narrowly defined job descriptions. So a guy on the floor, he can only screw in light bulbs. He can't do anything else. So that's tough for management when you've got to be innovative.
So, Dennis, there's no flexibility when unions are around. They're to blame for this.
Look, unions deserve a big piece of the blame, but let's remember something, okay? Anytime unions succeed in stupid work rules and getting too much money, if there is such a thing, it's because management caved in, and it's ultimately management's responsibility to run the business well, and it's management's fault when unions win rules that hurt the company.
But Elizabeth, does management have a choice when unions have so much power here?
No, they, especially in the auto industry, they often don't have a choice because they could do work stoppages, right? And I think Victoria is right, especially it's more pronounced in the auto workers union. But unions have helped a lot of workers in other industries. What I find to be a conundrum is GM is running away from unions here in the United States, but opening plants in China where they have to deal with Communist Party workers wanting to read pamphlets on the job. Same with Walmart. So it's sort of an interesting conundrum that these companies have to deal with.
But Steve,
right
are
now.
unions to blame for GM's loss here?
A big part of it, but again, management is part of the problem too. But in America, nice thing in the private sector, they're down to about 8% of the private workforce, and you have a choice. If you don't like GM cars, you can buy Toyota cars. The real damage union does is in education.
Well, you've gone against women with a gender gap. Will you go against unions now and be totally un-PC?
Look, I think unions hurt themselves, David. In the free market, GM is shrinking, Ford is shrinking. Why? Because of the unions. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt America. Well, I lease a Nissan. That's fine with me. As long as the market remains free and trades free, unions will only hurt themselves.
Well, we mentioned China. Let's talk to Mr. China himself, John Rutledge. Unions, are they to blame for this?
Zooming past GM is like zooming past a speed bump. They've been dying since 1961 when they had a 61% market share. You know, the news is that China's cars are now coming into the U.S. Chery is going to be distributed by Daimler Chrysler, and Geely's right behind them. But unions are in third place here. The management killed the companies. The politicians helped. Unions did their part too.
So management is to blame, Dave.
Sure, ultimately it's management's responsibility. But here's a problem. Let's remember that unions, you know, in Detroit, it's a right-to-work state. No, it's not a right-to-work state. You have to be in the union to be allowed to have a job at a car company. And anytime a union can force its services on you, whether you vote for it or not, it's a bad thing. And instead, the union should have to work to earn your vote, and it should be a right-to-work state like Florida, where I grew up.
So should states get rid of these laws that enforce unionism, where you have no choice, Steve?
Yeah, it should be right to work. Many states have it. There's a movement on it, and the politicians are still trying to kill it. They tried to do away with union elections recently, and they're always trying to get rid of this right to work.
Well, Victoria, are unions growing in power? Certainly they've had an influence on the car industry here. Are they growing? Some people say Jack Welch says they're growing in Silicon Valley now.
No, I don't think that's true at all. If anything, the unions are joining forces, even with international unions, to try to get more power, and they're trying to change the rules on how they can unionize employees.
Rutledge,
I mean, these are all desperate attempts to get leverage that they don't currently have.
John,
New industries
you know that they want to get
direction.
Walmart, don't you?
Of course they do, but you know, the big problem with unions is they are growing in the government sector and in the teachers sector, both low productivity sectors.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is not the problem here, it's the service sector.
Well, yeah, the reason why unions want to get into Walmart also is because there's been a drop-off in membership dues, right? So, and especially in the supermarket industry, too, you see that as well. And so they see that their influence is waning, so they're trying to break in. But the thing of it is that with the teachers' profession, yes, teachers should be paid more, but they should realize that the union should not allow janitors to sleep on the job to get pay, overtime pay.
Steve, teachers' unions is one of your biggest pet peeves.
It's our biggest threat to our long-term competitiveness, the fact that many of our K-12 schools are not doing well, and it's because of a lack of choice. Anytime you try to get charter schools, anytime you try to get choice, like in cities like Milwaukee, unions are there trying to kill it. They're hurting America.
All right, we've gone from car industry to education. We'll need